This is Pulse of Africa, the face of Ethiopia, the voice of Africa.
Hello and welcome to Pulse of Africa News. I'm Jalani Tesfaye with the news. Our top stories for today. President Ramaphosa urges G20 to sustain diplomatic advocacy for conflict resolution. Tanzania seeks not to import Ethiopian electricity through Kenya. Macron to visit US for talks with Trump over Ukraine tariffs. Online shopping in EU continued to grow in 2024. Now to the news in detail. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa urged G20's continued advocacy for diplomatic solutions to conflicts around the world. The G20 Foreign Ministers meeting officially started in Johannesburg on Thursday with the attendance of foreign ministers and representatives of over 30 countries and international organizations. President Ramaphosa emphasized the G20's role in promoting diplomacy, citing South Africa's experience that inclusive dialogue ensures lasting peace. He also reiterated his country's call for reforms in the UN Security Council to make it more representative and responsive to current global realities. South Africa's G20 presidency, which marks the first time that an African country presides over the international forum, highlights the growing importance of the African continent in global economic, political and environmental discussions that are ensuing around the world, he said. According to Ramaphosa, South Africa has 4 priorities for its G20 presidency, including disaster resilience, debt sustainability for low-income countries, just energy transition, as well as sustainable growth through critical minerals. To Tanzania. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, on Wednesday said it had received a request from Tanzania and Ethiopia electricity utilities in which the Tanzania electric supply company TANESCO will buy electricity from Ethiopia Electric Power and use the Kenyan National Electricity Grid for transmission to Tanzania. The local energy regulator said it is now considering the capability of the local grid to handle the transmission. The 3 countries recently completed the construction of major power lines that will enable their utilities to buy electricity from each and propel the East African power pool that has been in the making for years but has been held back by lack of infrastructure. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority has received agreements between TANESCO and the Ethiopian utility in which they are seeking to wheel 100 megawatts from Ethiopia to Tanzania through the Kenyan system, said Tanzanian Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority Director General Dani Kiptu. Tanzania has sought approval from local energy authorities for the import of electricity from Ethiopia using the Kenyan power grid. Shifting to Côte d'Ivoire. Côte d'Ivoire officially took control of Port Bout, the last remaining French military base in the country, on Thursday. Paris officially handed the camp over in a ceremony that included a changing of the guard to mark the transfer of security responsibilities to the Ivorian army. France has been present in Côte d'Ivoire for decades, but the handover comes as the majority of its forces leave countries across West Africa. French Armed Forces Minister Sébastien Lecornu said some 80 French servicemen will continue to stay in the country to advise and train the Ivorian military. France is transforming its presence. France is not disappearing, he said. About 1,000 French soldiers were deployed in Port Bout and helped in the fight against jihadists who launch regular attacks across the wider region. The withdrawal will take place gradually over the course of 2025, but around 80 French soldiers are expected to remain for training and support missions. To Burundi. Burundi has received up to 35,000 asylum seekers from the Democratic Republic of the Congo since February 2025, the country's Home Affairs Minister said. Burundian Minister of the Interior, Community Development and Public Security Martin Nitriste made the remarks Wednesday after the meeting with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees and other development partners. The meeting aimed at addressing the ongoing influx of Congolese asylum seekers, fleeing insecurity in the country's South Kivu province. The Burundian government calls for national and international solidarity to support efforts aimed at assisting those refugees and adequately address this humanitarian crisis, the minister said. Turning to French-US ties. French President Emmanuel Macron will travel to the United States for discussions with his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump, focusing on the Ukraine issue and impending U.S. tariffs. French Minister Delegate for European Affairs Benjamin Haddad told the media that Macron had already spoken with Trump twice this week regarding Ukraine. Our approach is to maintain dialogue with the President of the United States to ensure that the voice of the Europeans is heard in this negotiation, he said. Macron is expected to emphasize to Trump that the future of Ukraine cannot be decided without the Ukrainians, and the future and security of Europe cannot be negotiated and decided without the Europeans. Moreover, Macron will also address tariffs that Trump plans to impose on European products. A trade war protectionism is not in anyone's interest, the minister warned.
Ethiopia is my blood, your story, and our identity. Ornamented by centuries of sacrifice, the story of resurgent Ethiopia and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel, all the time. Pulse of Africa, the face of Ethiopia, the voice of Africa.
Now to business news. Hilton has announced plans to expand its African footprint by signing an agreement to open 2 internationally branded hotels in Ethiopia. The 2 properties, DoubleTree by Hilton Adama and DoubleTree by Hilton Dreidawa, are scheduled to open in 2028. These hotels mark the first international brands in Adama and Dreidawa and are part of Hilton's ongoing commitment to increasing its presence in Ethiopia. The company plans to operate 8 properties across the country in the coming years, underlining Ethiopia's strategic importance in Hilton's expansion strategy. The agreement was signed with Brighton Hotels and Business plc, a significant player in Ethiopia's hospitality sector, and Carlos Neiser, Vice President Development, Middle East and Africa, Hilton. Finally, online shopping in the EU continued to expand in 2024, Statistical Authority Eurostat said on Thursday. Last year, 77% of internet users bought or ordered goods or services for personal use online, jumping 59% from a decade ago in 2014. The highest percentages of internet users who made online purchases last year were in Ireland 96%, the Netherlands 94%, and Denmark 91%. Bulgaria had the lowest share at 57%, followed by Italy and Romania, both at 60%. The most frequently purchased goods online in 2024 were clothing, shoes and accessories, fast food and catering services, and cosmetics and wellness products. Before we wind up, let's get you updated on the global commodity prices. That is all for today. Join us tomorrow on Pulse of Africa. Thank you for watching.
This is Pulse of Africa, the face of Ethiopia. the voice of Africa.